Picture this. Someone making $204,000 a year, more than 3 times the median American household income, who still can't afford to buy a house. Someone earning more than 85% of Americans, pulling in over $17,000 every single month, yet drowning in debt so deep, so suffocating, it feels inescapable. What I'm about to share is a painfully true story that we should learn from. This is MindSnack Finance, bite-sized lessons with lasting value. Meet Moe. We've changed his name to protect his privacy. Moe is 30 years old with a successful career trajectory that most people would envy. He brings home $17,000 monthly in gross income, plus performance bonuses that push him well over $200,000 annually. From the outside looking in, Moe looks like the American dream personified, the living proof that hard work pays off. He's got the nice apartment in a desirable neighborhood, the nice cars that turn heads, the lifestyle that racks up likes and comments on social media. His friends see success, but his family sees someone who doesn't know how to manage his money. Let's look at Moe's actual financial reality. We'll be using the DTI ratio, that's debt-to-income ratio, to break down exactly what's happening here. If you're not familiar with how this critical financial metric works and why financial experts obsess over it, I've linked a detailed explainer video in the description below. Trust me, understanding DTI might be the most important financial education you get this year. Why don't we start with what Moe is doing right? His rent payment is $2,500 monthly. Now, given that he lives in a high cost of living area where studios can easily run $1,800, that's actually a reasonable rent for his location and income level. That $2,500 represents only 15% of his gross monthly income, well within the recommended 28-36 rule that financial advisors preach. For context, that rule suggests you should spend no more than 28% of your gross income on housing and no more than 36% on total debt. So far, Moe's housing situation looks responsible, even conservative. So far, so good, right? But then we dig deeper into Moe's choices, into the cascade of decisions that built his financial prison, brick by brick, and the dream rapidly becomes a nightmare. 3 cars. Not one practical, reliable vehicle. 3 separate automobiles sitting in various parking spots around his apartment complex. Let's break down this vehicular empire. First, there's the truck, a full-size pickup with all the bells and whistles, leather interior, the works. He still owes $35,000 on it. Then there's the sports car, sleek, fast, the kind that makes that satisfying rumble when you start it up. Current balance, $30,000. And finally, an SUV, the family vehicle, still carrying $16,000 in remaining debt. Pause for a moment and let that sink in. That's $81,000 in vehicle debt alone. But we're just getting started with Moe's debt portfolio. 6 credit cards, each carrying a balance, each accruing interest monthly. The total across all 6 cards, $67,000 in debt, the highest interest debt you can possibly carry outside of payday loans. And because apparently 3 vehicles weren't quite enough to satisfy whatever void Moe was trying to fill, he also owns a recreational vehicle, a motorhome for those weekend getaway adventures, with a current balance of $26,000. Let me add this up for you because the numbers are staggering. We're not even done tallying everything, and Moe already owes $107,000 on depreciating assets, assets that are worth less every single day, plus an overwhelming $67,000 of credit card debt. That's $174,000 in total consumer debt for someone who doesn't own a house and has built exactly 0 equity in anything. Now let's do the math that Moe apparently never sat down and did himself. Let's calculate the monthly bleeding that's happening in his financial life. Vehicle payments alone spread across that truck, sports car, and SUV with average interest rates and typical loan terms. Conservatively $2,400 every single month. That's nearly $29,000 a year just to keep 3 vehicles in his name. Credit card minimum payments on $67,000 in debt, assuming average APRs around 20 to 24% and typical minimum payment calculations, roughly $2,600 monthly. That's the absolute minimum, just enough to keep his accounts in good standing, but nowhere near enough to actually make progress on the debt. The RV payment for that freedom vehicle he uses maybe 6 times a year around $700 monthly. Add his $2,500 rent payment to this financial bonfire, and we're looking at $8,200 in monthly debt obligations before he's paid for a single gallon of gas, a single grocery item, a single utility bill. Let's calculate his debt-to-income ratio. With $17,000 in monthly gross income and $8,200 in debt payments, Moe's DTI ratio sits at approximately 48%. That's already above the 36% danger zone that financial experts mark as the edge of the cliff. And remember, we still haven't factored in any of his actual living expenses. Car insurance on 4 vehicles, probably $500 to $600 monthly for a 30-year-old male. Gasoline to fill 3 separate tanks, another $400 to $600 depending on utilization. Regular maintenance, oil changes, tire rotations, the inevitable tear and wear, add another $300 to $400 monthly average. Groceries for his household, minimum $700 to $800. Utilities including cell phone, electricity, water, gas, internet, streaming services, another $400 to $600. Not to mention childcare costs, healthcare premiums and copays, clothing, personal care, and all the other expenses that real life demands. And if you haven't noticed yet, the DTI calculation uses monthly gross income. That means Moe's take-home pay isn't really $17,000 a month. It's closer to $13,000, assuming a 24% tax bracket. Moe is financially drowning in plain sight. And what's the predictable tragic consequence when your income barely covers your obligations? Relying on credit cards to stay afloat, using tomorrow's money to pay for today's shortfall, digging the hole deeper every single month. Here's what breaks my heart about Moe's situation. He wants to buy a house. He dreams of building equity, of owning something real, of starting that wealth-building journey that homeownership can provide. But here's the brutal, unvarnished reality. His DTI ratio screams high-risk borrower to every single lender who reviews his application. Despite earning $204,000 annually, Moe is less creditworthy than someone making $85,000 with zero debt. That person with a modest income but clean finances can get approved for a mortgage. Moe, with all his impressive income, not sure. He has become a prisoner of his own success, trapped behind bars he built himself. His high income enabled him to qualify for more debt, which he tragically mistook for wealth. The lenders looked at his income and said, "Sure, we'll finance that truck, that car, that SUV, those credit cards." What they didn't tell him, what he didn't realize, is that every yes from a lender was actually tightening the chains around his financial future. Now Moe is trapped in a vicious cycle where he earns great money but keeps exactly none of it. Every dollar that comes in has somewhere it needs to go before Moe even sees it. How did this happen to him? 2 words that should terrify everyone. Lifestyle creep. Let me take you back 3 years to where Moe's story really begins. 3 years ago, Moe was actually in a solid financial position. He had good income, reasonable expenses, money left over at the end of the month, and a bright future ahead. He was doing everything right. Then something insidious happened. Success became his enemy. It started so innocently that Moe didn't even recognize the danger. First came the truck. He rationalized it perfectly. I need something practical for weekend projects, something reliable, something that can handle hauling stuff when I need it. The monthly payment was a breeze. He could afford it. Check. Then came a bigger apartment because, after all, we deserve it. We've been working so hard. We should enjoy our success a little. The rent increase was only a few $100s more, and he'd just gotten a raise. He could afford it. Check. Each decision viewed in isolation seemed completely reasonable. That's the trap. Debt doesn't destroy you with one catastrophic decision. It kills you slowly, one reasonable-seeming choice at a time. Debt is a compound problem with compound consequences that sneak up on you. Year 2 of Moe's descent. Enter the sports car. The rationalization was ready. I can afford the payment. My income is solid. I work hard. I should be able to enjoy something nice. The truck stayed in the driveway because I might need it for those projects. It wouldn't make sense to sell it now. Year 3 brought the SUV for family trips and road travel, something safe and comfortable. And then, in a moment of inspiration during a camping trip in a rental RV, came the decision to buy the motorhome for weekend adventures and making memories. Each purchase was justified by his solid income, approved by lenders who looked at his pay stubs and smiled, but ultimately driven by a dangerous lack of financial discipline and understanding. What Moe didn't realize during this 3-year journey is that he wasn't building wealth. He was meticulously, payment by payment, draining his financial life. Every new payment reduced his freedom, increased his stress levels, and moved him further and further away from his dream home. He was going backwards financially while feeling like he was moving forward in life. Here's where Moe went catastrophically wrong, and here's the lesson that could save your financial life. He calculated affordability instead of sustainability. He asked himself, can I afford the monthly payment? Instead of the far more important question, what does this do to my overall financial health? What does this mean for my future? What opportunities am I closing off by making this commitment? Moe was smart enough to fit payments into his monthly income flow, clever enough to make the numbers work on paper, but financially illiterate when it came to the actual building of lasting wealth. He confused cash flow with financial success. Let me show you the real cost of Moe's choices. That $2,400 monthly he's spending on extra vehicle payments, money that's gone forever buying depreciating assets. If he had instead invested that money in a simple index fund earning an average 8% return, it would have grown to over $80,000 in just 3 years. Instead, he has 3 depreciating assets that collectively own him, that control his choices, that steal his future. So, what's the best possible advice for Moe at this point? What's the path out of this nightmare? It requires radical financial surgery. This isn't about budgeting tips or skipping your morning coffee. This is about financial life support, aggressive intervention to save a patient who's coding on the table. Step 1. Sell everything that has wheels and a payment attached to it. Yes, everything. The truck, the sports car, the SUV, the RV, all of it goes. Keep one reliable, paid-for vehicle or buy a modest used car with cash from the sales. The ego hit is temporary and survivable. The financial relief is permanent and life-changing. Step 2. Attack the credit card debt with the absolute fury of someone whose life depends on it, because Moe's financial life does depend on it. Every single dollar from the vehicle sales, after keeping one modest car, goes directly toward those credit card balances. No exceptions. No rewards for good behavior. Step 3. Calculate the new DTI ratio after this financial purge, from 48% down to potentially 15 to 20%. That's the difference between financial prison and financial freedom. Step 4. Build an emergency fund before even thinking about buying a house. 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. Then, and only then, start actually building wealth instead of accumulating payments. Here's what haunts me about Moe's story. It isn't unique. It isn't unusual. It isn't even rare. There are countless individuals across America making this exact same devastating mistake right now. Confusing income with wealth, confusing the ability to make payments with true affordability, confusing credit approval with an actual opportunity they should seize. The DTI ratio isn't just some arbitrary number that financial experts made up to torture income earners. It's a protective shield against financial wreckage. It forces you to ask the right question, not, can I squeeze this payment into my budget? But rather, should I add this debt to my overall financial picture? Don't let Moe's nightmare become your reality. Never, ever make a major purchase without calculating its impact on your DTI ratio. If you're creeping over 30%, you're on Moe's path. If you're above 36%, you're already in dangerous territory. Change course before the weight becomes unbearable. Because here's the truth that Moe learned the hard way. The difference between wealth and debt isn't how much money you make, it's how much you keep. It's not about your income, it's about your choices. And those choices, made one payment at a time, will either build your freedom or construct your prison. Which one are you building?